Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Uncle Mike Speaks podcast. And I'm your host, Uncle Mike. Yes, I'm back to my car, and you never really understand the struggles of a creative like myself who has a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old who, for some reason, love to be in my videos. Well, I try my best not to include them, not yet, anyway. But anyway, you're welcome to the Uncle Mike Speaks podcast. Um, yes, a huge shout out to a woman that I consider a mother. We lost her 10 years ago. And Mommy Chama, I love you. I probably haven't thought about you for so long because it was how I sort of learned to cope with, your death in 2015. You're a special woman. I know I wasn't around, I was away, but when I heard, even up till now, I still can't imagine that you were gone. And I'm not just saying it because it's a cliche thing to say, but it was my own way of coping. I sort of put your memories in a box and just assumed that I was far away. And one day we would end up seeing and show you how much of a man you built, sort of, because your advices, the prayers, the admonitions you gave over the years, they're still valid till now. I still think about it, and I don't know if it's something I should say, but your children are doing very well. The values that you instilled in all of us, they're making sense till now, and I love you. I don't want to break down this morning because we did a tribute for you yesterday, and I did a tribute. I wrote something, and I couldn't even get myself up to doing that for a long time. But your memories are still valid to us, and God bless you. And I pray that we'll see something. So thank you so much, Ma. Mommy Chama, you are still remembered. Yeah, not to make today's episode, a bit weak, but it is a touchy subject. Um, so if a video has been making the round or trending, a skit maker, Maraji, I've seen a lot of her content, um, sort of commented on the video on a man, I don't even know him, who sort of alluded that when his pregnant wife gave birth, he went through a lot, and nobody really asked him how he was feeling. And Maraji, being a a woman, felt a bit, you know, awkward. Like, what are you saying? Who needs to ask you how you're feeling? Did you carry the child? Um, why did you think that you needed someone to tell you or ask you how you're feeling? And of course, there were rebuttals. A lot of people supported her stance, but Buchi, who is also a life coach, sort of commented and was like he disagreed with her. So uh, I'm going to come into this way. Being a man who has experienced childbirth, who has experienced the whole 9 yards twice, um, and let me just quickly throw a disclaimer: I'm not for or against either Buchi or Maraji or the man who did the video. There's something I've noticed in this generation, that we're going into now. It always has to be two extremes. It always has to be two extremes. It always has to be somebody picking sides, and just staying on that corner. It's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that, and we have to get used to it, obviously, because every time something comes up, it's always an argument on who is right, who is wrong, whose corner are you in. There's very little nuances that are applied, you know, to conversations these days. So I'm going to apply a bit of nuance in, and I'm going to be open, probably share a bit of experience, because you really can't say how it is you would react or act when your wife is pregnant or is about to give birth. It's a difficult period, and not to compare what a man goes through to what a woman goes through. I don't think it's comparable, but we cannot dismiss the experiences of a man either, you know. So I'm just going to start with the woman. It's a quagmire of emotions when a woman is pregnant. There are a lot of hormones, busting around the corner. There's everything going on. For some women, being active, doing chores, tasks in the house is a way of getting their minds off it. If you marry a woman like my wife, and I love you so much, babe, who for some reason always feels that no one can do things as better as she can, especially when it comes to chores, so you see her heavy and still wanting to do something. So most times what I did, or what I would do, is I just watch her exhaust herself out, right? So whatever that is left off, I pick up and I do. Because if I, for example, you know, wash the dishes, right, and she comes and she's like, oh, there's one particular one, she's still going to end up doing a part of it. So I just look and I wait, and it's okay, hold on. You want to cook, she cooks, I do the little I can, and she moves on. Whether it's enough, whether it's tasking or stressful, for me, it's quite irrelevant. You know, I can't come up to say, oh, I went through a lot too. Ah, man, I'm tired. Because what justification do I have to say I'm tired when my wife is, obviously tired also? So I can't, I have to be the man. I can't even come up to say, man, today was stressful. I had to wash dishes because you couldn't. It really sounds somehow, right? But the truth is, we cannot say the man, doesn't feel stressed. There's a common saying that when a woman is pregnant, the both of them are actually pregnant. So the man and the wife, they are both pregnant. And that's just the reality. The tantrums being thrown, the requests that comes with it. There was a time, I think our first child, my wife asked for Nkwobi. So we had to drive around the battle. Of course, we went into a spat because I was, of course, why would you want Nkwobi, stressing me a whole day and all that? But I couldn't see so much. I was a bit ignorant then anyway. But only for us to get an Nkwobi spot, and I don't know how my mom came into the picture. A phone call, my wife called her, and my mom said, hey, you can't eat Nkwobi. There's some things that are in there that's not good for pregnant women. So after going around the battle, yeah, we had to go back home, and imagine how I felt, because I'm a very special character. I know my wife did try me. I know. So we did all that. I went back home, and I've heard of men being woken up in the middle of the night by their wives to say, "Hey, I need this," and they have to go get it. So you understand? The wife is going through something. The man is going through something. Am I ignorant to think, or am I wrong to think that most women, when pregnant, intentionally try to replicate what they are feeling in the experience for their husbands to also feel it? I think at times it's like that. I think so, right? But for the man, aside from the physical exhaustion of going through a whole lot of looking for this and doing that, I think mentally the man also goes through this. It's not an easy time for the woman. Again, I'm not comparing. I'm just trying to make a point that man was trying to make, that was, obviously picked up by Maraji to throw to this extreme, and of course Buchi to also Buchi tried to establish a bit of balance, but he was also on this other side, But the point is, the man goes through a mental stress. He goes to no man who loves his wife likes the sights, of the struggles the wife goes through, and that's just facts. So in his mind, he's like, what's going on? Why she has to either throw up? If you are the one who has the wife who throws up, the one who pours spit, the one who is offended by every smell in the house, the one who is offended by everything you do, who is just frustrated by the fact that she's going through a lot, you know, but men do go through it. So there's the mental stress there, can imagine. You can imagine, okay, for your wife, for wives who work, for like mine who works, at times I'm at the office and I'm thinking, how is she coping? What is she doing? How is she doing this? And every call that comes through to say, I'm feeling this way, you start to fidget, you start to run around and say, I hope she's fine. This is this. Have you gone to the hospital? Or when she goes for a little check and she calls and says, oh, the doctor said this. You think you're the only one going through that. The man goes through a whole lot of emotions also. So that's that. There's also mental stress there. Again, there's no comparison what the woman goes through. And I'm going to get to the part where, not fault, but I sort of understand, and I think the approach could be different, especially from the man, right? They will not get through the 9 months, and the day of delivery comes into play. So mine was a bit different. The expected due date came, and Bobo didn't come. So she, of course, she didn't feel the need to. The baby had no need of come out, so they had to wait until a point 2 weeks after they had to induce, and I wasn't there. And that's still a grouse my wife holds with me today. She feels you are not there, you still don't understand what it is. So the next one you have to be there and all that. So that first one, this is the reality. She was in another town, and I got the news that she was going into labor at about 7:30 or so. So this is what we've been doing before time, right? So they call and say she went to the hospital today, and they said the baby is in, it's not time yet, so they'll go back home. So me, I was just flexing. She was in her mom's place. So the next day they go to the hospital. So that very day, during the day they had gone. So I felt it's gonna be like that again. So by 7:30, I got a call to say they're going to induce. Of course, my whole mental being was scattered. That was my first time. I never understood what was going on. And my dad was with me in Ibadan here, so at that time he came to do stuff. So by the time I got to the house to rush, as at that time it was late to start traveling down to where they were, my dad said, you know what, you can't, not with the way you are even, fidgeting. You can't drive, so that you don't lose concentration and all that. So my dad says, you know what, just stay. Tomorrow morning when it's this thing, you can now go. And that night I couldn't sleep. And I'm going to make a confession. I was so stressed, I was so stressed in the house. I think I called by 9 to say how far, and I heard the noise in the background. She was shouting. She was, oh God, I was scared. So when I caught the call, obviously it was like past 9 in the night. I made an effort again to say, Dad, I think I need to go. My dad said, hey, no, you can't. Just calm down. Of course, he's a man who had gone through this 5 times. So he obviously knew that, oh, come, I know it's your first. You would get used to hope. But I really felt bad I wasn't there, to console. And that night, I knelt down in that room and I was praying. I think I prayed for like 3 hours. I really can't say, because at the point I slept off. Please don't show my wife this video. I fell asleep, but there was this mental torture even in my sleep. I think about 12:01, I sort of woke up and realized I was asleep. I said, how can I be asleep? So I called again. And by the time I called by 12, okay, I prayed for like 3 hours. Or I think I did for like 3 hours. Then by 1, in between, I sort of know that I dozed off, and I'm like, okay. So I picked up the phone and I called again. And this time I called, I still heard noise again, like much more. I'm like, this one has gone through this for like 3 to 4 hours, and the baby is yet to come. God. So I started praying again, and even in my prayer, okay, after that call, I went to my dad's room and said, Dad, she's still never born. What's we go do? Daddy said, you know what, that he's also praying. You just go and pray. This is, don't worry. So I prayed for a couple of minutes again, and I dozed off. The next time I woke up, it was my dad by past 3 who came to wake me up to say congratulations. Can imagine the relief that I experienced, because I was under a lot of pressure. So by 4 o'clock I woke up. As at that time, my dad said congratulations. I was sleeping anymore, because of course I was a dad. So I arranged some things. By 4:35 I went on the road. My dad said, okay, now you can now travel, but be careful. So I drove all the way, and by the time I got to the hospital, I was elated. Of course, I was a dad, but my wife carried that face, that face like, you don't know what I went through, you're not here, and all that. But I did not take it as, oh, you don't know how it is I'm feeling. And this is where I think the guy's expression was a bit off. We are men. Forget the stereotypes around it, but we are men. But in these situations, we must have gone through a lot, but it's nothing compared to what the woman has gone through. So, and it's not enough to say those things, to say, hey, you can't be annoyed. Me too, I was going through stuff. I was not balanced. No, I don't think it was relevant. And at that time, I was so much elated that asking me how I felt was inconsequential, or how I felt. No, ask my wife. She's the one that probably did most of the work, So, but I saw my baby, and of course, she came off it later on. Although till the date, she still has those things. But my point is, we all go through these things. But is it enough to now say, you guys don't know what we men go through? Maybe at times when the mood is lighter, we can just say it in passing. But at that moment, I don't think you should expect such. And when my second baby came, of course, I needed to ensure that I was there. This time and my dad was right, because as at the second time, you sort of have an idea. You've it's not your first rodeo. You've done this before. So this time I also drove at night, because the baby also was to come in at night. I was at work, and she called and said, hey, I'm feeling somehow. So I drove home at about 2:08, and we started driving to that location again, because it's a family doctor and it's quite a distance. So we drove, but it still did not change the experience, right? It still did not change the experience. We went through a lot. She went far more through a lot, because the things that I saw, now understood. That night that I was absent, the anxiety I felt when I was not there was nothing compared to the one I felt when I was there. So you can imagine how. So seeing it firsthand, that time I was hearing it, but now seeing it firsthand, man, women are trying. Let's just give it up to the women. Whatever it is that Eve and Adam did that caused God to say that they would feel that, man, can't wait for such things not to happen again, because women go through a lot. This time, all through the night, the baby wasn't ready. She was not dilated. I couldn't rest. I couldn't sleep this time, because she couldn't sleep. She was all through. The doctor would come at different times at the night, and I even got a call, telling me to do some things that are diabolic. I don't want to go into it, but you can imagine. But thank God, God was God. I did not balk under the anxiety and the fear, I had to go back, travel back. The next morning, she still wasn't ready. And for you to know how scared I was, right? By the time I got back home to get some stuff before traveling back, I was so scared. My hands were shaking. I was like, God, help me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I cannot lose my wife. I can't lose my children. Please, I don't know how to do it. I entered into a pastor's house, a known pastor. We'd never just, there's some people you just see on the road, you just say, hi, good morning, sir, and you just pass. But somehow I knew that this man was a redeemed pastor. But I was so scared. By the time I got the things from the house, I don't know what pushed me. I just entered into the man's house. And when I went into the man's house, I knelt down and said, sir, please, my wife is in labor. Since yesterday, she has been in labor. I don't know. Fear. The man just told me, no, don't worry, it will be fine. He prayed and I left, but I still felt that same way. So by the time I was going back and I called, it's that by this time it was like 9 in the morning. You know, we had left 8 o'clock in the evening the previous day. By 9, this woman did not sleep. She was going through that same pain. I called. My mother-in-law said, hey, she still hasn't, she said she's not ready. I got to that location by 11. The same thing, 12, 1. I literally saw some things I've never seen my wife do. Hair scattered, not bothered about anything, you know, and I understand how women, what they go through, sort of. But God be the glory. By 3 o'clock, something that happened from 8. Wow. By 3 in the afternoon, I was on the road. The hospital was by the road, so I couldn't stand the noise. Like her shouting, I couldn't take it. You know, men never love to feel or look helpless, and I looked helpless, so I couldn't stay. So I went to the road. I was praying, going back and forth, praying on the road. People probably were wondering what was going on, but the woman that they were hearing her voice in the hospital was my wife. You know, I got to a point at the gate and I heard, praise the Lord. The cry of the baby. The cry of the baby. All the things I had gone through were inconsequential, and that's just the truth. As at that time, I was far more happier. But something happened. So when I got back to the hospital and they were bringing the newborn towards me, our first child is a boy, right? So I wanted a girl. I had prayed that I wanted a girl. So, but the truth is, when they were bringing the baby, I was not concerned about the sex of the baby. In fact, I did not look at the baby first. When they brought the baby, I said, where is my wife? So when they brought her with the wheelchair coming out, I said, hallelujah. So I saw her, how you doing? She's fine. Of course, she didn't answer me that much. I just saw her, she was just like this. When I saw that she was fine, and I turned and said, okay, where is the baby? Let me know the sex of the baby. Oh. And they said she was a girl. I was so happy. But looking back in retrospect, the things that she had to go through, the things that I had to go through, even now, is still inconsequential. I can't bring it up to say, oh, nobody asked me how I felt. Yes, I did feel some things, but I don't think it's necessary. I really don't. Because one, it's nothing compared to what the woman has gone through. And two, it's not to say that the men don't go through stuff or is not go through things, but as a man, I guess that's why you are men. You just chest it and take it, right? So I was more concerned after I saw that my wife was fine. But to close with this, Maraji wasn't wrong, you know, and she wasn't totally right either. The three entities in this thing. So the man who said the story that nobody asked him how he felt, Maraji countering him, saying, do you know what we go through? Then Buchi coming up on Maraji to say, hey, that's wrong. Men also go through stuff. They're not wrong in themselves. Neither are they totally right. Delivery is more important. So the men, like I said, these conversations can come when there's a light moment. Maybe among your friends, just say, oh man, me too, I went through a lot. But it's not for you to expect that people will ask you how you feeling. Because it's a man's word, yes, but nobody, I don't think it's necessary anybody to ask me. Yes, I went through stuff. Then for Maraji, my grouse towards you is, you cannot say the woman, yes, experienced a lot and discard what the men, you know, must have gone through. Men do go through stuff too. You understand? So we can pass across that information to say, okay, women go through a lot. I you know, I agree. You go through a kind of thing too, but it's nothing compared to us. So you don't just discard. Two truths can exist. So you can't discard what the man must have gone through just because you want to prove a point. Why for Buchi? I think Buchi of the three still created a little bit of balance, you know, to say men go through a lot, you know. But where I have an issue, what I think with Buchi's, you know, comment is, should we agree that men go through a lot? Yes. Should men have an avenue for them to express themselves? Yes. But should it be a key thing? I feel like if you must build offices where people should talk to either couples post, pre, whatever birth, I think the women will be much more of importance than the men. So if you must have a place people should talk, the first consideration, in the scale of preference is women should be the one to be talked to, because you have postpartum stress and all those things, and they help go through a lot. So for them is the pre, during, and the post. For the men is the pre, during, but if people must talk, the priority should be given to the women first than the men. And if the men must talk, maybe you don't, I don't know. But my point is, everybody has their experiences. Everybody should be fine where they are, and just admit that people go through stuff. But in the case of labor, giving birth, the women, they try. Women, they try. Men, they try too. But if we can give the women this one and just let her, not suppress, but just, calm our own feelings a bit, I think it's fine. As long as mommy and child, they're both fine. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, please share, subscribe, or like, and let me know what you think. Please give me a feedback. I love feedback. If you think what I've said now, I know, consider a lot of things, please let me know. And I pray that those who are going through stuff now, God will see you through. And I pray that God blesses your marriages with children. No matter how hard those things, the children that come afterwards, they're a blessing and they are lovely. Now, am I thinking of doing another one? Maybe not, maybe not, maybe not. My mother-in-law, my mom, my family, I say, hey, do another one, but maybe not yet. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely, lovely week. Bye-bye.